Hello, I am Deanne Haggins. I am with the accounting department. I'm an accounting administrative assistant, I believe. I've been here for 2 years. I was at my previous job for 21 years, so as you can tell, I love to switch jobs. And I am a child of God. I think that's what we're going to focus on today, correct? Okay. So that's all I know is church. I've always been in church. My parents, grandparents, it was a family thing. We did it together every Sunday. So that was routine for me. I'm not foreign to seeing my parents pray. My dad gets on his knees and prays morning and night every day, and he's 72. So that's normal for me. But I was still a child. I was still, curious, a little rambunctious at times, but I always knew that God was my source, and He was in the center of our lives, and we always tried to be pleasing in His sight. So I was raised in an AME Zion church, so they just like sprinkle the babies and you're good. But when I was in the ninth grade, we moved to a Baptist church in Charlotte. And so one Sunday we were sitting in church and my dad was like, come on, I have a sister that's 6 years younger than me. So it was my mom, my sister, and myself. And we looked like, where are we going? And so we got up and we went to the front of the church. And at this church, they used to sit chairs out. And anyone that wanted to be a candidate for baptism, you would go sit in the chairs. And for some reason, I'm not that emotional. I'm really like a little tomboy. So I got like overwhelmed and I was crying. So I wasn't sure if it was like the Holy Spirit or I was just nervous because we were sitting in front of hundreds of people. But whatever the case, that was my beginning of really knowing God for myself, not just what my parents had always taught me. So through high school, did my thing. I was a good student, but I was easily like, let me go try something else. I was good in track. I did it for a while. I was in the band. I was in marching band. I was in band from 4th grade to 11th grade. Did well in school, but it was just like, I wonder what else is out there. And I was in a rush to grow up. So I used to literally have checklists, like literally either put a check through it or draw a line through it. And that's how I kept my life in order, per se. And so when I got, 21? Well, no, when I was 18, I thought I was getting married. So, because my high school sweetheart, we met when I was in the 7th grade, and he was in the 8th grade. We grew up 5 houses apart, so we had been together since I was 15. So we were going to get married at 18. He was in the Army, and so the plan was I graduate, move to California. We live our life. And my mom was like, no, ma'am, you're going to go to the beach with all the other seniors, and you're going to do what kids do. So that was the end of my marriage, per se, or my marriage attempt, my first one. And I just went to school, but I was always in church. I was always a children's choir, and I was an usher and missionary department, things like that. But then 21, I got married, and we ended up moving to Germany. And so from all of the years of planting seeds, my parents and my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and our church family, when I was 21 overseas by myself, just my husband and I, that's when it was time to reap what you sow. So I saw a little bit of everything. And my parents always gave us enough room to experience life, but we always knew we had that protection. Everybody didn't come from that type of family. And so once you're out there, you realize that everybody doesn't think like you and they don't have the same morals. And it was then that I called my parents and thanked them for what they had given me, because they had given me God. I had a source, I had my protection, I had my center. So I knew how to have fun, but I knew not to cross that line. I was pretty good on that. And checking off boxes, like I said, so at 21 I was married. We lived in Germany for 3 years, came back. We were in Fayetteville for 3 years, and then we built a home. So we had built our house, moved in September, and I was laying in the bed, and I was like, we're doing good. Like, we have A1 credit, we have our own home, 2 cars, the dog. We got, the American dream, active in church. So it really looks good on paper. I'm thinking we're having a good time. And I asked my then husband, was he happy? And he was like, yeah, no, I don't know. I need some space. And so I'm really silly. So I was like, oh, well, let me scoot over, because that's what I thought, like he needed that kind of space. But I looked in his eyes, and that's not what he was talking about. And I had told people, because he had gone to Bosnia, so I had told people that he was different when he came back. But he put on the face when everybody was around, so everybody thought I was just over-exaggerating. So when I got up the next morning and I was just like praying. I was like, Lord, I don't know what to do. I don't understand. I don't know what I did wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I called my girlfriend, and she told me to pray. So he was asleep, and I got on my knees and I was praying out, and she told me to pray out loud. So I was praying out loud, and he started moving. I'm like, now he was sound asleep, like this book sleep, knocked out. And I started praying out loud, and he starts tossing and turning, and I'm like praying with my eyes open, like, what? I don't know. She just said pray. She didn't say what else to do. And I stopped. And as soon as I stopped praying, he stopped moving. And I was like, oh, this is a spirit. And I called my girlfriend back, and I was like, girl, you didn't tell me what to do after you said pray. And she was like, you just keep praying. I was like, okay. But while I was praying, he was leaving. So 2 weeks later, he left. He was like, he was gonna leave. I said, okay. And it was so odd and bizarre. I was like, it's either you're gay, you're on drugs, or you have a baby on the way. Because that's just how drastic it was. And we've known each other forever, and I knew you weren't acting the same, so something had to be up. But the timelines were off, and everybody was like, but y'all always together. He met a lady at work, and they had an affair during lunch. And he would come home regular time, nothing odd. Well, she got pregnant. At the same time, we were trying to have a child, and I wasn't able to conceive. So, but he wouldn't tell me that. He just said he needed some space. So he left January, and like I said, we had just moved into our house, and I was in my dream house by myself, and I didn't know what else to do. So I just like prayed and prayed, and I had a dream, and God showed me it was him, and it was a baby. And the next day, and my mother and father-in-law, we still talk about this to the day. My mother-in-law called me and said, we need to talk, because nobody knew. None of the family and none of us knew. And I was like, no, you don't. We don't have to talk. And she said, no, we need to talk. And I said, no, because I already know. And she was like, you already know what? I said, he has a baby on the way. And she paused. She said, and how did you know that? I said, God told me, because he wouldn't let you call and tell me something like that, because I was so in love. It's no way. And that was one of my first times that I didn't think I would be able to make it. Like, I didn't want to wake up. I would get mad every morning. I'd be like, God, what is it? What do you want me to do? Because in my mind, I was doing everything that I was supposed to do. I was making all the right moves. But I was literally just checking off boxes, because being in love with God and having a true relationship with God is what really matters. But they don't really tell you that when you're younger. They just tell you that you're supposed to pray and you're supposed to be good and blah, blah, blah. But it's the relationship that's the most important thing. So it took me a good little minute to get over that. Let's see, a year. Because I had to move back home with my parents, because we based everything off of our income. So I had to move back home. That means selling a house that I had only lived in for a year. I had to figure out what life was like as a single person. I've never been single. We've been together since I was in 10th grade. So I'm 28, single. I don't know how to date. It's like a whole asking for a disaster. So I went back to hanging with my male cousins, because that was comfortable. I love motorcycles, so I would hang out at the track on Thursdays and watch drag racing, and I would be all the places you wouldn't expect me to be. And so that was my way of hiding in plain sight. Nobody bothered me. I was cool. I had a good time. Nothing was expected of me, so I was fine with that. But my dad would always pray, and he would be like, "Don't forget you're a lady." And I'm like, "What is that? I'm not doing nothing. I'm just hanging out." It's like I'm in a all-male bike club, so we would like travel South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, just for races and just to go to bike events like Bike Week, Daytona twice. I had a schedule. Like each month I knew where I was going to be. And this went on for 4 years. 3 years. And I met my current husband. My sister was dating this guy, and I was anti-man at this point. Like, y'all good, but y'all just not good for me. I'm not getting married again. I don't need all that, blah, blah, blah. And she was dating this guy, and he would say some like off the wall stuff. Like, I was like, no, call him. And I mean, I would take it back to like, call him on three-way. Y'all probably don't even know what that is, but that's when you have three people on the phone, and we would have conversations, us three, and I'd be like, no, you're not gonna do this, you're gonna do this, and like, because I was trying to control you. You're not gonna do to my sister what happened to me. I didn't want her to be all in, and he's not in. And so that was one of my things God showed me, that I'm trying to be God, because I'm trying to control everything. In my mind, I was trying to keep everything out. I was just keeping all the bad stuff away. I just wanted everyone to be happy, but that's not my job. I can only control me. So it was a learning experience. But during that time, the guy told his cousin, "Man, you have got to come and meet the meanest woman in Charlotte." And so when they came to the house, and I opened the door, and I love cracking jokes, and so he had on a chinchilla coat. Through me, I was like, "What is this velvet?" Just cracking jokes, making light. And I was sitting there with my bag of carrots, watching Thin Line Between Love and Hate. And we laughed, and we just had such a good time. He was so cool and down to earth. And that was in 2005. And so he's now my husband. We saw each other the next week. And I was like, "Isn't that the dude that was watching the movie with us? He had that fur coat on." And my sister's like, "Yeah, that's him." And I was like, I put my hand, I was like, you gonna walk past us and not speak? And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even see you." And so we sat, and from that night until today, we've talked every day. So for me, that was, once I went through, because now I went through therapy. I had 25 sessions every week. Just to get myself together. And when I went to therapy, I was like, because I had already prayed, I was like, "God, anything that is not of you, please take it away." So I went to therapy, and it was pretty cool, but it was bizarre at that moment. When I went to therapy, my job made me go. And so I was sitting there, I was like, "I don't have nothing to say. What you gonna tell me about me?" And he said, "Well, I'll tell you something about married folks." He said, "Usually when they're having issues, they do one of two things. They either build a house or they have a child. So which one did you get?" And I was like, wow, I got the house. And from that point forward, I was just like gushing with whatever, because I was really trying to be a better person. So fast forward to 2017 at 12:01 a.m. New Year's Day, my now husband proposed to me. And I was like, wow, I never thought that I would be doing this again. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm ready. We were playing Uno, of all things. And I was sitting there talking to his cousin, and I hear all this noise and commotion in the background. And so when I turned around, he's down on his knee. I was like, oh, that's so cool. We had on pajamas. It was just a regular, but that's just how God works. He gives you exactly what you need when you need it. And he gives you that wilderness period to get you prepared for what he's gonna bless you with. So that's my That long enough? That's 51 years in a few minutes. My faith, for one, you always know God is watching. No matter, you can try and cover up or whatever, God sees all. So I always want to be a good representative for Christ. So it makes you want to do your best. And then it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt that, I love working here. So I want to make Angie proud, and I want to make Coach happy. So it all works together. But people call it integrity, but a lot of businesses use the word integrity but don't actually practice. Having God as my source, that's my thing.
The second question was, how do you handle stress and stay grounded in your faith amidst stressful times at work?
Music. I love music. I love to write poetry. So I have, if you ever come to my desk, you'll see a bunch of stickies or pieces of paper where I just write stuff all the time. I've learned to talk it out, but I wait first. Like I take a couple of breaths and pray, and then I'll talk about it. Check my emotions. That's the easy thing for me to do now, and that wasn't so much back then. Yeah. We started a women's Bible study group, and it's 7 of us. We meet every Thursday, and initially we were just 7 women, but we've developed a bond, and we all have a longing to know more about God and develop our relationship. And we each bring something different. And like one week I might be down or out of it. There's always someone in there to give an encouraging word, pray for you or whatever. And you don't see that a lot in jobs. So to know that I'm not the only one, it's not like some people try and make Christians feel like they're the oddball, whereas here this is like everybody drinking the Jesus juice. So yeah, I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Since it's October, I skimmed over this. I am a breast cancer survivor. So I would ask everyone to walk 2 miles a day for breast cancer, either survivors or angels who didn't win their battle on this side. If you could just walk 2 miles a day until October 31st. Because that was another example of me seeing God move. Because I was diagnosed with cancer 3 days before my 47th birthday. And that was rough. I was like, wow. But it didn't shake me like everyone thought. It shook everyone else more than it shook me. But that's only because God had told me to trust him right before I was diagnosed. So if I could say one other thing, no matter what life looks like, trust God. And I always give the example of the snow globe, because when you shake that snow globe and the snow and everything is going all over, but that constant in the middle, that's God. That's his peace. That's the Holy Spirit right there. And it keeps you, it never moves, no matter what's going on. So just remember that. Today might be bad, but tomorrow it's going to be better. We're all here for a purpose, so.